All right. We're going to go on 3.
Okay.
1, 2.
Wait. Do we go on 3 or do we go on 2N?
It's your ass, coachies.
Okay, we go on 3.
So, wait. So, 1, 2.
2 and 3.
3. Up. Okay. Bravo. That was so great. We deserve Oscar nominations right then and there. What's up, everybody? It's your boy. It's me. It is PLD.
And I'm Richard Eric Jarvie. Welcome to Class Action, the classiest show on the interwebs.
The classiest show that has been not there for a couple of weeks. We've had some time off.
That's on me. That's on me. I've been having some rough times. Needed to take some time for myself. You know, it's World Mental Health Day today, so folks, don't forget to take some time for yourself.
Well, this is a very Lethal Weapon-ish type thing I'm about to do here. Is today Mental Health Day, or is it Saturday when this is actually playing?
Saturday.
It's Saturday. Okay,
it's
so
Saturday.
We'll play. So Saturday. Well, this is actually while you're watching it.
It's Saturday today. We're live.
Okay, we're live. That's right. Well, what's up, everybody? Happy to have you guys here on this great Saturday. I'm assuming it's a great Saturday.
It's Saturday.
It is Saturday. We had this thing planned. We had a great episode planned out for you guys. And here comes Indiana Jones on cue. Always, I start the show. I can be talking for half an hour behind the scenes. Nothing. The minute I press record, go live, he has to hop on and try to get in the picture. He's a freaking ham. All right, anyway, we had a great episode planned. We had a 3-way episode planned. We wanted to do Beverly Hills Cop 2 versus Die Hard 2 versus Lethal Weapon 2. And then we decided to pull an audible because we thought it would be better. We love these movies, this style of movies so much. I mean, honestly speaking, we come from, obviously, we're on the Action Industries YouTube channel from the home of Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. We, of course, always salute them for giving us this little slice on the interwebs. But we are sons of action movie anatomy, so to speak. And these 3 kind of movies, they were really the heart of what began the action movie anatomy type brand. It's those big,
the OG
80s, 90s action movies. Yeah. So we didn't want to just do a 3-way. We decided we wanted to do almost like a mini tournament, not really as much as the Mission Impossible was. So we decided to break these out. We're going to have 2 up against each other today, despite what the thumbnail says. We're calling an audible. We're going to do this week just Die Hard 2 versus Lethal Weapon 2. And then the winner, because of a random drawing we did about 5 minutes before we went on screen, the winner will face Beverly Hills Cop 2. Beverly Hills Cop 2 gets the bye. Why? Random luck of draw of fate, but that's okay. We're going to see which one is the real winner here. We're going to start with Die Hard 2 and that awesome obscure poster.
Yes, sir. That is a really obscure poster. Can anyone understand what's going on that poster? I can see the red plane there, but what is the black stuff there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's smoke or if it's...
It looks like it's teeth. Almost.
It's like an alien almost.
Like a xenomorph.
Like an H.R. Geiger alien, exactly. I don't know. But we love pulling these random weird posters out. So if you do that, that's what we do. And we're going to go put that up against Lethal Weapon 2. A little more straightforward, a little more cartoonish, but still a fun poster nonetheless. And yeah, we'll see what everyone wins. Then we will that will go on next week. We'll face Beverly Hills Cop 2. In the battle to the death, because that's what we do on Class Action. We battle to the death. I mean, we're supposed to. That totally throws off our law, our law motif. But
it can be either life or death in the courtroom.
That's true. But
they don't usually battle there. It can be like a Game of Thrones style. You know, they have trial through combat.
Trial by combat. We could do that.
I
like that. That makes sense in an action industry kind of thing, right? Trial by combat. Well, all right. What we do on Class Action is we do take up 2, sometimes 3 movies, or sometimes actors, sometimes characters, sometimes franchises, put them up against each other. We come up with 5 custom-made categories to put them up against each other, because we found many times that even if you have a movie you think is automatically going to win over the other one, when you come up with these categories and match them up that way, sometimes surprises happen, and you something sneak through that you didn't think was going to happen. It's happened to us quite a few times already.
For sure.
But this is what we have to do. We got 5 of guns for Die Hard 2 or Lethal Weapon 2. We'll go over them in just a little bit. Before we get to that, though, we do like to play a few games, a few little segments we do. The 2 of them specifically. We got What Would Ed Harris Play as our first one. And if you watch this show now, this is I think their 41st episode, maybe something like that. It's really been on for a while. If you watch us for a while, you know that Ed Harris is this guy's favorite actor. And
really,
I know it's shocking, right? It is shocking. Although I must say, the best news I got was that Jarvie sent me a text earlier. Said he's watching Westworld and he's really, really enjoying Ed Harris in Westworld. And I went, welcome to the Church of Harris. So
I feel like I'm getting there. I really feel like I'm getting there.
That's there we go. There it is right there. But what we do is we take up whatever movie we're talking about or a franchise we're talking about, and we put Ed Harris into that film, whether it's a recasting or whether it's writing a new role for him to play. Because that's my whole thing with Ed Harris. I always feel like he makes every movie better. No matter what it is, it could be a really shitty movie, but he's in it. He makes it watchable. If it's a good movie or a great movie, well, it makes it a damn awesome movie. So that's what we're going to do today. We have 2 films to put them in. We got Lethal Weapon 2 and Die Hard 2. Jarvie, do you have your first one? You pick what you want to. Go ahead. You make your choice.
Let's go with the Lethal Weapon 2 first.
Okay, go
ahead. So I have him as, the easiest would be to put him as the villain. But again, I'm going to try to put him in an obscure role. And I would never actually recast him, but if I had to, I would, because I always feel like I'm because I cast Ed Harris as friggin' Shatner in Star Trek, and I feel like that's never gonna be forgotten.
No.
So I just never. A precursor. I would have him as Joe Pesci's role.
Oh, Leo Getz? Joe Pesci.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Leo. Why? Yeah, Leo Getz.
Joe Pesci.
It's Joe Pesci. And also a typo.
Oh, you learn how the secrets are made now behind the scene. You're reading off your documents and it's a typo. Huh? Okay.
But tell me you wouldn't want to see Ed Harris go like, okay, let's go. Okay.
I got to tell you, I considered it. I would like to see that because I think it'd be really funny to see.
This is tuna.
Yeah, fuck you at the drive-thru. They fuck you
at the drive-thru.
He totally could do it. He totally pull it off. Because it's funny though, because it's a little bit against type. Because you figure he's usually such intimidating. He's not usually the one that's intimidated like he would be. But I would love to see him pull it off. Because I think he could. I did consider that one. I think where your mind's at. I think that might, even though I chose differently, I chose more traditional. I think in both episodes, both films, I chose more traditionally this week. But I almost think he win because I want to see that happen as well. For me, I gave him a smaller role, but I kind of wanted to see him in there. I kind of put him as the captain of the police force of
right. Yeah. Where he's like smoking in there and he's telling them to pick up Joe Pesci, right?
Yeah. So he's got much more of a hard aspect or whatever, but he's kind of like he's a good guy. He's a good guy at heart.
Yeah.
I want to see him do more of that because he does a lot of the bad guy type stuff. So I didn't want to just slide him in as the villain for that one. I figured I'd get him something a little bit of a good role to do. Maybe amp him up a little bit. Maybe get him involved more towards the end. Maybe he gets just somehow gets more involved after the tragedy of Riggs's girlfriend's death and everything else.
Maybe he pops up on top of one of the containers and he's looking down and he says like, "I'm up here, you're down there." You stepped on the wrong container.
Just the wrong container. I like that. That's where I'm going to go with for that. All right. That's good. I like that. Let's talk about Die Hard 2 then. All right. I'm going to do this one. And honestly speaking, this is the easiest one for me. It's traditional and doesn't make sense. But like, honestly speaking, when it's this spot on, I don't think you can make a mistake. He's got to be Colonel Stewart. I mean, you just want to see him all oiled up and naked, don't you? Like, admit it. You just made a bunch of people happy. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. You're not with the towel.
Oh, there's no towel. He's like,
everybody, he takes it off. I think I'm confusing with Mallrats for a second when he does the same similar type of thing. But no, you're right. You're not wrong. He does have that big oiled naked body. Maybe subconsciously that's what it was, man. But I mean, in seriousness, though, when you think about it, but think about like just his demeanor, just his acting style. It's very hard-nosed, very intimidating style. It's almost like a General Hummel if Hummel was a complete villain.
Is Hummel. And we'll get to that category, but he would pretty much be Hummel.
Right. He's just
there's
more
only one
straight villain.
nuance that's missing, and I'll get to that later. But that will be like a prequel to The Rock or something.
Yeah, he's in that same category. That's exactly what it is. So that's why I had sometimes, like I said, I try to avoid the too traditional rules. So we kind of get stuck in those things. But when that's that spot on, I can't not.
I get that. Get that.
Go ahead. What do you got? What'd you do?
So I went obscure again.
I love it. I love it.
I would have him as Marvin, the janitor, like living down in between the pipes there somewhere.
That would be funny as well. I can see that happening.
Because actually, they he's not too much against type there.
No, not as much.
Because the look, actually, I can't remember the actor's name, but he looks kind of similar to Ed Harris.
Yeah, no, not too far off. Not too far off. I get that. I agree with that.
I want to see Ed Harris go just like Iwo Jima.
Just like Iwo Jima, man. All right. You can totally pull it off. I've seen him do some of that, like in Pollock in a way. When he played Jackson Pollock, he had a similar aspect of him. I like that. I like that very much. I would like to. I'll go with that other one. I don't know who wins. Whatever you guys want to say in the chat, you want to tell us who wins and who loses. It's usually Jarvie who wins. Although I did have a good run for a bit, but we'll have to see what they say this time, right?
It's usually more fun when you think of new characters, but I don't know. Lately, it's kind of tough thinking of new characters. It's sometimes it just comes to you, but
and sometimes when it does come to you, though, they're brilliant. Yeah, we both have had some brilliant moments. Let's put it that way.
We sure have.
So, not to pat ourselves in the back a little bit, but,
of course.
But, well, all right. Without that further ado, let's move on to our favorite segment, your favorite segment to discuss anywhere to explain. Why don't you explain how the public defender works there, Jarv?
Oh, I thought you were going to say snap judgment.
No, not.
Public defender. Wow, it's been 2 weeks, so brace yourselves.
I can't wait.
The public defender. Now, why do we call it the public defender? Well, in movies, usually the public defender is overworked. They're underpaid. They might have to show up in court without preparing their briefs or their opening statements, so they might have to come up with things on the spot. So we figured if we have guests, or sometimes we give these lists to each other, we want to put ourselves on the spot just like that we have no pre-knowledge of the list that, for example, you would come up with. Say, like, you would go top 5 Mel Gibson movies, and I just have to come up with them on the spot. So that's why we call it the public defender, because we started off as a legal pun, but now we're just coasting off it for no apparent reason.
Okay, exactly. Sometimes we do have guests. I have a lot of times solicited guest appearances from the Action Army and from guests like Brad Gilmore and even my wife at one point, I think, for Lord of the Rings, to give us a question where we both have to answer. Harry Potter. It was Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. It was Middle Earth versus Harry Potter. True. So don't question me. Don't question me. But we didn't get one this week. It was a little bit my fault. I'll blame myself. I never really reached out to anybody. I was like, it's kind of too late to reach out to anybody. So I dug down deep, and I'm going to give Jarvie a question of his own. So therefore, I get to make him look like a fool, and I get to look nice and fine. Although I realized, though, because I did come up with this earlier tonight, I realized that I should probably be answering this too. But I didn't prepare anything, so actually it might be just as screwed as you are if I try to answer it. So, but I'll let you go first.
Well, of course you will.
Of course I will, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm a gentleman.
Wait, let me get the flop sweat going. All right.
Okay, you ready? You ready for this? Okay.
I'm ready.
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Top 5 action sequels.
Okay, so that immediately takes out. Does it have to be action, or can it be action comedies?
It could be action comedy. I'll allow a broader base if you'd like to go that way.
I would go with 22 Jump Street.
Ooh, that's a good one.
John Wick 2.
Okay. I want to insert one thing. You haven't broken the rules yet. I want to insert one rule. We can't use the films from like Die Hard 2, Lethal Weapon 2, or Beverly Hills Cop 2. Continue. Go ahead with that. John Wick 2 is definitely on my list as well.
Yeah. No, again, Predator 2 isn't that good. Okay, I'm gonna go with Aliens. Okay, Aliens. That's like
probably number one.
That's the number one for sure. Yeah.
I think that's number one. Come up with
that. So I got one more or two more?
Two more, I think. Unless I can't count.
Shoot. All right. Think of some 90s actors, something I can. Oh, no, I've got nothing. Action movies. Come on, action movies.
Adventure movies. You're looking for your DVD collection? Or
something like that. I'm like,
for
can see
inspiration?
Ready Player One there. I can see. I'm actually failing this.
I'll even go with adventure. I'll let you go adventure. It doesn't have to be number 2. I just had sequels, so technically
true. All right, so I'd go with. Now that's too much adventure. I feel like Back to the Future 2 is too much of an adventure, not really action.
Yeah.
Come on, this is where you jump in.
Okay, fine. I'll jump in with mine, even though this is more adventure, but I still think it's action enough. I'm going to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
All right. Well, that's okay. So we're going. Okay, I figured out only go with number 2s, but
I just said you don't have to. You can
true,
go with 3,
true.
4,
You did say that.
So I go with that. I would think. Let's say Terminator 2.
Wow. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, that's a good one, huh? Yeah. How about any more Stallone, or does the Rocky franchise count as action?
Yeah,
because the Rocky 2 or Rocky 4.
Well, Rambo 2 then.
Rambo 2 would be good. I think we've got 5 by now. I don't know.
Let's say that
we'll let it go. All right, chat. Sound off the chat.
Movie show. Come on.
If you have any more action sequels that you think should be on some kind of top 5, top 10 list, maybe throw them in the chat, and we'll be in the chat at some point. Probably going, I can't believe we forgot about that. How do we forget about that one, or how do we not mention those?
At least I got Aliens.
You did get Aliens, and you did forget Terminator, but I'll let it go.
I did.
I wish there was The Rock 2, but I guess there's not. So.
I was thinking of Con Air. I almost say Con Air because I feel like that's the spiritual.
It's a spiritual sequel.
The Rock.
Yeah. I get that. That's good though. All right. We'll let it go. We'll let it slide for now. We'll go on to our snap judgment. Now, snap judgment is I was kind of talking about this before. Whereas when we pick 2 movies or 2 franchises, usually we have in our heads, okay, this one makes sense. This is what I think is going to win. That's just right away. That's what we think. And then usually, sometimes we end up getting fooled when we actually go through the categories. Of course, we always bring it up, but the one that fooled us the most was Ready Player One versus Tron Legacy.
Yeah,
that one fooled us quite badly. We were really off on that one, but that happens more than you think, or at the very least, it's a lot closer than we think. So, what is your snap judgment between Die Hard 2 and Lethal Weapon 2?
This is an easy one for me.
Okay.
I feel like Lethal Weapon 2 will take this.
Oh, okay. It's funny. I guess I don't know if this counts. Here's a weird thing: is what I just said is snap judgment is. I kind of go against type because my initial quick snap judgment was Die Hard 2.
Really?
But then after not even thinking about the categories. I was just it just came out. I think Die Hard 2 because I think I've seen it more. But then but actually, I think Lethal Weapon 2 is actually maybe going to do better. So I don't know what to say. So I think I ended up on Lethal Weapon 2 as well. But I will admit that my first real answer was Die Hard 2. But I do think
so. Go with that.
I probably should. I'll go with that because that was the first thing I said. Oh, I almost know I'm wrong now, but that's all right.
I hadn't seen both movies for at least 10 years or something.
Oh wow.
And I was blown away by how great Lethal Weapon 2 as a whole as a movie was. That surprised me way more than Die Hard 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm basing my snap judgment on.
I gotta say, I watched these again. Like I said, rewatched these for the show, and I didn't remember or didn't realize how much I really loved all of them. I actually loved all 3 of them pretty much. I'm like, they were a lot better than I remember. I usually go with the originals, but the sequels I had a great time with. So, but without further ado, let's get into our categories. We'll go with, we have 5 categories. We actually came up with 6, but we just had to cut one. We got the first one we're going to go with is better leads. You got John McClane on the Die Hard side, and you got the combination of Riggs and Murtaugh on the Lethal Weapon side. Number 2 is going to be action sequence, better action sequences. Number 3 is going to be the better villain, Colonel Stewart plus General Esperanza, maybe, versus Arjun Rudd.
Or Arjun Rudd, yeah.
or Arjun Rudd. Better one-line, not one-liners. We just said better one-liners. We kind of changed that to better snappy dialogue.
Yeah,
it's more comedic. It tends to be more comedic. I mean, I guess if we wanted to throw some like really great dramatic line in there, we could. But I have a feeling we always tend to go for the more comedic purposes. That's just what we do, I think.
Absolutely.
And then 5 would be, what's the better sequel? And it's not. And it's hard to explain. I try to explain it to Jarvis. Jarvis first was like, but isn't that basically what we're doing? And I don't mean it necessarily as what's the better film, but what film follows up the first film better with its connectivity. Like that, when you look at when you go through the journey from the first film in the franchise to the second film, which one works better overall as a sequel? And that's what we're going to go with. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We will start with better leads. I will take the lead. No pun intended on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, too late. All puns are intended on this show.
That's true. We are very punny. We We appreciate a good pun. All right, we got better leads. You got John McClane versus Riggs Murtaugh. This is a very difficult, hugely difficult task because, quite frankly, these characters are some of the most iconic characters in action movie history. When you bring up action heroes, John McClane is one of the first ones you always think about, and Riggs and Murtaugh not that far behind. Now, what I have to say about them, when I considered both leads and both leading characters, I had to consider: is it just the iconicness of it, the iconicity of it, or is it the actual characters themselves? I think that's iconicness. I think I like iconicity.
Let's talk about that for a second.
I like that. I like that word. I'm going to use it whether it's a word or not. If it's not a word, I'm making it a word. That's how I roll. And I got to say, sometimes I like to draw it out, and sometimes I just kind of come and say what my answer is and then explain. This is one of those times I'm just going to come out and say it. I think it's Riggs and Murtaugh are better characters overall. I think John McClane is a more iconic character. With the action here, you think about Bruce Willis in his tank top, or in this case, his winter jacket, and his cracking one-liners left and right. He's saving the day by himself against the world. But at the same time, there's no more great character than Riggs. Unlike a lot of sequels, I do feel like Lethal Weapon 2 did a great job. It's going to kind of get into number 5 a little bit, but Lethal Weapon did a great job with Riggs's character as far as developing it from the first one. The first film had a very crazy, wild Riggs, insane Riggs, but you learn reasons why. And this one, it shows even more depth, and not only depth, but like how far he had come in as far as what Murtaugh did for the relationship. Not for the relationship, but for him with their friendship and the relationship, bringing him into his family. And I really liked the Riggs' character. Murtaugh's great. Murtaugh's funny. I think he's a secondary character to Riggs, honestly, if I had to say it. But he's a necessary character.
Kind of tough to say that, but I feel like it's kind of true. Yeah.
He's a necessary character, though, because you can't have Riggs' development without Murtaugh. And Murtaugh does shine as well. So maybe it's unfair that I give this a Lethal Weapon because there's 2 good characters versus just one. But I got to give it, I say it's Riggs, then McClane, then Murtaugh. So how could I not give it to Riggs overall? So
do you know what it is about Murtaugh? It's that we all want to be Riggs, but eventually we all end up being Murtaugh. Because I feel like that's why we consider him as the lead.
Yeah, it could be. He is kind of like, I guess in a way, he is the audience is in. He's the way we are all reacting to Riggs the same way he does to a degree. I mean, if we were in Murtaugh's shoes, we'd probably reacting very similar. Like, what the fuck is going on in real life? You're going to fuck up my life this way? Holy shit. So, but yeah, I get it. I got to give it to Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, so I agree. But for me, I didn't think about the iconicness. Do we go with iconicness? Iconicity, all right. But for me, it was like John McClane is this very cool and has a lot of swagger kind of type of a villain. Like when he walks into the room, he's the smartest guy in the room. He never really makes a fool out of himself, and he always has like a smart, quick answer for everything. And Riggs and Murtaugh, they are like crazy and goofy, and they're not really always in control of the situation.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
their humor is where they overtake McClane for me. And they aren't afraid at all to make fools out of themselves, and they're way more flawed and vulnerable. Exactly what you said about Riggs and Murtaugh as well. He has like his daughter being in a condom commercial, and like I know that's not the weight that Riggs has, but it's sort of like they both have like
It's
shit
the
in their
everyman.
lives that they have to deal with.
It's the everyman bit.
Yeah, but because John McClane is, he's the number one everyman hero that we think of. But if you really think about it, aside from his marriage, there really isn't a lot of like vulnerability about him.
Right.
Because he usually he feels like a very cool guy who has it all together. So
He's a superhero. He gets the shit beat out of him, but he still like saves the day, basically.
Exactly. And what you said about Riggs has this tragic backstory. The scene where Riggs and Murtaugh's wife talk in the kitchen, like that is like a true moment where, like, right. I'd say, where Donner shows his true artistry in directing like a very hard-hitting dramatic scene in an action comedy.
Yes, I agree with that entirely. So yes.
So yeah, this
you're gonna go Lethal Weapon.
I'm going with Lethal Weapon. Yeah, at first I thought this was going to be a closer battle, but it's kind of easy for me to say that it's Lethal Weapon 2.
It is. It's only in like what I'm talking about. It's easy. When I thought about it before, I thought about it, and now that after I'm done, I'm like, but how are we discounting John McClane, one of the biggest iconic heroes of all time? But yet, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. By the way, iconicity is a real word, but it's not exactly what I thought it meant. So I'm going to take it out and strike that. It has to do with languages and stuff. And as I must have heard it somewhere. So we'll just go back to iconicness. Strike that from the record. I'll edit it out. And no, I'm not.
Good to know.
I'll leave it in because I'm an S. I'll leave in my idiocy. Idiocy is a word.
Idioticness.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Category number 2. We'll go with better action sequences, and I'll serve this one to you. Which one do you like better action sequence wise?
So I started off with Die Hard 2 at first because I felt like we'll get into which is the better sequel, but they really upped the ante. And like I even really enjoy the first baggage handling room fight scene.
Yep.
It's really gnarly when the dude gets crushed under the machine, and then there's the church shootout.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that really jumps out, like it has to be the plane, like on the final airplane chase on the wing.
Right.
That is like, because in Die Hard we didn't get a real showdown with the main villain, like because Alan Rickman. Well, they kind of fought, but Alan Rickman definitely wasn't like a match to him, really.
Physically, you mean? Oh,
yeah,
physically.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It's to get the showdown with the gun and everything else, but I get what you mean. There's not quite a do good out kind of battle.
But Lethal Weapon 2 now that has. So I'm just gonna say this. I'm picking Lethal Weapon 2 again.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, because there's 2 scenes that aren't even the final showdowns that I like more than the final action sequence in Die Hard 2, and one of them is the truck chase scene, which is really cool when you think about the stunts and how it ends up. Like the action sequence has a really funny climax when they go with their like car jumps through the truck's like roof or something. I don't know why, but it works in a comedic way.
I get that. I get that.
And also I really dug the trailer shootout where Riggs and what was her name? Blanking. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, his girlfriend.
Yeah,
his kind of girlfriend at the time. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, and I think it's the setting during the night and the fact that like Riggs always has like a backup plan to get out of the situation, and it might have to do with something that he previously got like a really intense sex scene with Patsy Kensit. Is her name. Which was like the super 80s kind of like graphic sex scene that came before that.
Yeah.
Hashtag no shame.
No shame.
But yeah, it's and also the toilet bomb. Like that is not really an action sequence, but I feel like that's the scene that gets referred to the most when we talk about Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah, like just like that poster, right? The poster had.
Yep, exactly.
It's probably one of those memorable sequences in the whole film in that way. I get that. All right. Well, I'm going to go against the grain here against you, and I'm going to stick with Die Hard 2 for this one. Now, I liked, for example, I love Lethal Weapon stuff. My favorite Lethal Weapon is probably my favorite action sequence is probably the opening sequence, the opening car chase. And it's got some great lines. You know, it's like
all right when he crashes the car, or like
when he jumps like, I want to see your insurance. He's falling off, and at the end there goes to the store, and you kick open, you find the balloons. It's got some great moments in that. It's actually a fun action chase. It's like, all right, we're getting right into it. We're just going right into it in the station wagon. It's great. I love that sequence. I do love the shootout at the trailers. It's a very powerful sequence. Very well. The battle at the end is great when you see Riggs getting all basically all losing his shit after he gets. But to me, the action is what Die Hard 2 brings. The plane, when he does the ejecting out of the plane after the grenades.
Right, that one. Yeah.
It's so over the top, but I love it. I mean, it's so over the top, but I love it. But a lot of stuff is that good. The sequence with the when they hit when McClane goes to find the transmitter or whatever. It's like the decoy thing that they go and they have the walkway and they start battling out there and all of the Dennis Franz's cop characters are killed right away. Basically, they use it as a stalling method. You find out they're stalling basically. And I love that sequence. I love that action sequence. A lot of the action sequences are great in that one. But like the plane one is the one that gets me the most. And of course, the ending, like you said, the ending plane battle. It has the perfect ending where he gets knocked to the ground. You almost think he's going to lose, and then yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. He sets the fire up. Yeah, that great moment. Yeah.
Ollie, fucking landing lights.
So, I got to go better action sequence. I do like the Die Hard one just a little bit better, but Lethal Weapon is great. I'm not going to lie. So, I'm going to give it a Die Hard 2. I feel like I must need to at this point because I want to throw a bone at this point. But yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. All right, moving on to better villain. Better villain. We're pumping along this. We're going along quickly on this one today, aren't we? Better villain. Colonel Stewart and General Esperanza versus Arjun Rudd. I'll start this one off. I'm sorry. What did we say about Colonel Stewart? He basically is General Hummel, just a little more evil. Like he doesn't have that slice of humility and honor in him. It's an honor, but not the same kind of honor. I got to go with Stewart. Stewart's a great villain. Arjun Rudd is good as well, though. I got to say that too. I have almost talked myself out of it a few times. The great diplomatic immunity. He's so smart. So you want to punch him in his fucking throat the whole
it's
time.
Josh Sacklin. He's an old school guy, and he's one of those, Peter O'Toole type of actors.
Right. He knows when to revel in it, and he revels in it so much that he makes you want to beat him. He makes you want to see Mel Gibson win. You want to see Mel Gibson take him out. You can't see how he's going to do it. You're like, the guy's got diplomatic immunity. How the hell is it going to work? But they're going to make it. They're going to make it happen some way, even if it's with a cheesy one-liner at the end by Danny Glover. Revoked.
I love that moment.
I love it too, but it is
just
so
been
cheesy.
revoked.
It's so fun. But Colonel Stewart to me is a greater villain in himself. He seems like he does more. He's more intelligent. Arjun Rudd seems to like bank on his diplomatic immunity. That's all he does, really. He goes, I got diplomatic immunity. I can do what the fuck I want.
He's got the awesome henchman, but he's not really the main villain.
Right. You don't really do much with it. Whereas Colonel Stewart, whose job, I mean, Esperanza is the big baddie, supposedly, but Stewart's working to get him back. He's the one we deal with. And he's got this great intelligent plan, in a way, a great fun plan. He keeps Bruce Willis on his toes the whole time, the whole system on his toes. He's got a great sense of just timing. The moment, my favorite moment was when he brings down the plane as a payback. He says, he has a little thing. Come on, we got you. We got you. We got you. We got you. perfect. Oh, it's so cold, so heartless, and you feel for it, you know. And that's a kind the hero fails. Bruce Willis goes out trying to show like, please, please, please. I'm waving the fire. I'm waving the fire. Doesn't matter. The bad guy just won that round. It's beautiful. I think it's a great sequence there. And overall, I think William Sadler does a great job. As much as I said Ed Harris is in the role, William Sadler does a great job in that role, and I love him in it as well. So I'm going to go with Colonel Stewart.
Yeah, this is the easiest category for Die Hard 2. It's definitely Colonel Stewart and William Sadler. Like from the first scene that we see him, he's doing the yoga stuff. He's got this glassy eye look about him. He's like, you can tell he's proficient in martial arts or whatever. Like what is like fight yoga thing he's doing.
I don't even know what it is. Yeah, you're right though. You were absolutely right.
So you're like immediately hooked with his character.
It's a villain qualifier without having to say a word.
Exactly. That's perfectly said. Yep. And
like, that's who this guy is.
And he is way more physically able than McClane in every way when they fight on the plane wing. Like if it were like an honorable, matchup, he'd kill McClane in 2 seconds. But McClane, he's a survivor. He's scrappy. He can take care of himself. If it weren't for that, because he beats him in almost all the smaller battles, but he just eventually gets the better of him.
Yep, I agree.
So, but I also, and you said it yourself, the Hummel qualifier here, that he has like a crew with him, and you can tell, like, sure, I think he like killed his crew member at one point. That's like the only part where I'm like, okay, that feels kind of weird, but usually it feels like they're a very cohesive unit and they've been through a lot together, which is also like very much similar to what The Rock did.
Yeah, that's true.
And like the only thing that's missing is that they're doing this for personal gain instead of giving money to the troops. So very similar in that way. But yeah, I do love Joss Auckland. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Joss Auckland.
Yeah.
But the Lethal Weapon movies, I don't think they're really about the villains. Whereas Die Hard movies are definitely as much about the villains as they are about the heroes.
Oh, absolutely. And I also should throw in the fact that Die Hard also has like multiple villains. They also have John Amos, who is the guy who's the SWAT team guy who's actually on Stewart's side.
Yep.
And, that whole moment where he's like, they had the whole team is together, and just when as they reveal, because that like the Duke kid's like, oh man, I wish I was with you in Grenada. He's like, yeah, I wish you were too. Wouldn't have to do this. You're like, oh god.
I remember seeing that scene when I was a kid. I was like, oh my god, they're showing his throat actually open up. I was like, oh no.
And I love the back and forth he has. At one point, he started yelling at McClane, but then all of a sudden, you think he's a good guy because then he like turns on Dennis Franz, the police guy. He's like, get this guy out of here! I want McClane. He's doing like, you're like, oh, I love this guy. This guy's great. And that's when they show you, like, that fucker got me. The first time you see, like, oh, he's very good. So it's another guy you root against. And then not only that, he's not really a villain. Okay, you can't call him, but he's a shit weasel.
He's a villain.
He's a villain.
You hate him way more than you do Stewart.
Oh, okay. You feel like the waitress, right? You feel like the waitress, not the waitress,
absolutely. Flight attendant.
Flight attendant. What did you do? Knock out 2 of its teeth.
Would you like some champagne?
It's so perfect. You feel exactly like that. And then one of the few times, like it was a great way to bring him back from the first film. It's just he's such a shit weasel. If action guys ever do a shit weasel, I gotta remember that because he's a great shit weasel character. And he makes it even better. So that's why Die Hard 2, I think, wins this pretty overall. As much as I like Joss Ackland, as much as I like that, I even like the physical guy there, the Peter Vorst. I think it's the basically Arjun physical guy that has to fight. He's good too. He's a good physical villain, but comparatively, Die Hard 2 kicks this one's ass, I think. So we'll go with that. All right, then let's move on. Let's do the better lines. And I want to say lines. There's a couple ones I want to use, but I did
go ahead.
You want me to start?
What's your best one from Die Hard 2? Your favorite one from Die Hard 2?
It's funny you say that because, like, I'm glad I mentioned the flight attendant one just before because that was one of my favorite ones.
No, you can say the others, but if you had to pick the winner, what was your?
I'm going to. I think if I had to pick one, it's the just once, like a regular, normal Christmas eggnog, a fucking Christmas tree, a little turkey. But no, I gotta crawl out of here, this motherfucking tin can. I do like that one. I got a couple other ones, but what do you have a favorite one from Die Hard 2?
I have two. One is from McClane and one is from Stewart. I think it's also a McClane line, and it's funny that we both pick like kind of long ones. It's where he's talking to Lorenzo and he's like, "That punk pulled a Glock 7 on me. You know what that is? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. Doesn't show up on any of the airport X-ray machines here, and it costs more than you make in a month." And he goes like, "You'd be surprised what I make in a month. If it's more than $1.98, I'd be very surprised." Such a shitty thing to say.
Yeah, another one I gotta say, I'll throw it out there. This is a quick one. The police captain's like brother Vito, who's a traffic guy. Merry Christmas. Just the way he said
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's I think later
really thick accent. What is that? Like a Boston accent or
it's
no?
A Yorkian type accent.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's like an Italian kind of gruff. Like I don't know. I did like that. I did like the other one too. It's another similar to my first one. It's a lot of just John McClane going, God, and he says the same thing. Oh man, I can't fucking believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice? So true, so good. And of course, Yippee
Stewart has. Yeah, he does say that.
Fucker.
But Stewart's, I like when he goes when the reporter comes up to him and goes like, "Colonel Stewart, can I have a few words, please?" You can have two. Fucking you. He doesn't say it like that, but.
Yep. Actually, I like the follow up to that one too. When Bruce Willis comes around, he's like, "Fuck off!" He goes, "I'd have got that from Colonel Stewart." Wait, what? I love that part too. But so yeah, those are my good ones from Die Hard, I guess. But moving on to Lethal Weapon. Okay, I'll go. My favorite of all of Lethal Weapon is it's a little bit long. No, actually, all right. Since we're gonna do more, my favorite one is when I still quote to this day when I can find an appropriate time to do it. I can't usually find an appropriate time to do it, but I still think about it all the time. We're back. We're bad. You're black. I'm mad. Let's go.
Yep. That is like Crazy Gibson right there.
He just keeps talking over, like, just get him going. All right, fine. I think let's go. What's your favorite one? Then we'll go through a few other ones.
I think, and I might be wrong, but I feel like this is kind of improvised, but maybe it's just, Danny Glover acting awesomely is when they're on the toilet and Murtaugh was like, "Why didn't they plant the bomb in Trisha's stove?" Yeah, think of all the needless suffering that could have ended there. And they just both start laughing. It feels like the Good Will Hunting moment where, Robin Williams is telling a story and Matt Damon is losing his shit.
Right.
He's like, I'm gonna die in a toilet, aren't I? Guys like you don't die in toilets.
They have a great friendship, a great relationship, and that's a good moment for that. I agree with that. One of the other ones I do love is a quick one-liner. It's a long one. I got to set it up, and he's like, Riggs asks the captain. Captain's like, "I don't give a fuck, Riggs. That's why I have an ulcer because I know when to say I don't give a fuck." He starts going through this whole thing. And he goes, "And Riggs, one more thing." Throws in the no smoking side on the side of his desk. He's like, "You know what that says?" Yeah, same as that. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Toss it back to it. It's so hard. So what you want to say to your boss, you can't say that kind of thing to your boss because you get your ass chewed out or whatever. But it's just perfectly sad.
Do you know what it is? I feel like Die Hard 2 has the better written lines, but Lethal Weapon 2 has the better delivery of the lines.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yes. Think about Leo. Leo's whole rant about the drive-through. Oh,
okay. Fuck you at the drive-through.
Can I get two for that guy? Don't ever go at the drive-through. They fuck you at the drive-through. Every miles away when you finally get fucked. You get fucked. Oh, Leo gets. Okay. I don't give a fuck.
Shut up.
So good. Leo guy, we haven't even talked about him yet. We mentioned him in the sequel. We actually were going to do sidekicks, and that's where we would have talked about Leo Guts. But Joe Pesci really makes this movie so much better than it could. It's really so good. He makes it so much better than it even is in a way. He just has his great funny moments in there that he just adds a little bit extra to the Riggs Murtaugh relationship.
And he doesn't even feel like a sidekick. He feels like a fleshed out character.
He really does. He really does. And it's great because he does so well. And this is not going on, but he's in 3 and 4 for the same reason, because he doesn't he actually inserts himself into the role.
He's in 4 as well. I thought he comes back for 3. Wow.
He's in 3 and 4. He's in all 2, 3, and 4. And there's so many good. He has so many good one-liners. And the whole thing, anytime he starts trying to explain the laundering, like, this. Okay. Going into the laundering thing and everything else, like, you get it, you don't get it, and they don't understand. It's just, can I have the siren? Can I have the siren?
Yeah. Oh, that is an awesome one. You can do it. Yeah. Okay.
Joe Pesci's great in any role, but this is probably my favorite Joe Pesci role, to be honest with you. And that might be considering he's had some dramatic roles. He's been like Goodfellas, but this one makes me laugh every time he does something. So I like him in that. And so those are my lines. Do you have a favorite specific line from Lethal Weapon 2?
I think it's the toilet line. When he talks about the cooking and Trisha's stove, but I think it's what I'm basing this on is exactly what I said. It's the delivery of the lines that makes this category for me, and it's just for that it's Lethal Weapon 2. Although McClane really bring. And there's one line that we didn't talk about is where Lorenzo says something on the loudspeaker, and he just goes like, "Let's kick some ass," and it's not that is a moment where the line is super kind of bland or something, but the way he delivers it when they're on board together, like he's behind McClane now.
Yes,
I kind of like that moment, but
because he makes a thing that's right. Because it's the great moment where Bruce Willis just McClane shows him that's the blanks. He goes, which never happened any day. If they ever happened, holy shit!
They do really weird stuff in the airport as well. Like, how are they getting in with all that stuff in the airport?
Right? No, not a clue. Not a clue. But does that thing? But you're exactly right. When Lorenzo, all of a sudden, you're waiting for Lorenzo to finally like how is he going to respond? He's been shitting on McClane the whole time. I want everybody ready to go in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. Time to kick ass. You're like, yes, all right. Finally, McClane has backup.
One question: how does Holly get the old lady that's next to her get a taser on the plane?
1990, I guess. 1990. 90s.
What?
Back in the day, you could bring stuff on.
You could smoke on the plane as well.
Everything about it.
Weird.
So that's such a different time we live in. But all right, let's move on. Actually, I went with Lethal Weapon as well, though, for the same reason. It's the delivery of it. It's a little bit snappier, but overall, that's what I go with. All right, so better sequel. This was an interesting category for me. And it has to do with what do you think a sequel should be? To me, I always find that the sequels, the best sequels, find that careful balance between giving something new, developing the characters you built in the first one, developing the story, but not making it so far out of the realm where it's like a totally different movie. You want to feel like it's the same universe. You want to feel like it's like you're going back to see an old friend. It's that hard line. Like, I want the same, but different. And this is where it becomes an interesting category choice. Die Hard 2 is definitely more on the clone side. Like, it's more of a not remake, but it doesn't.
He uses the same bones and it just puts it in an airport.
That's basically what it is. Yeah. Same characterization. I mean, even the fact that he jokes about it enough makes you know that they know it too. Everybody knows it. It's like, well, we all know what we're doing. We're just doing it because we want to. We know you enjoyed it so much. Let's just try to give it to you again. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, especially if you do it knowingly like that. But Lethal Weapon 2 is what I'm choosing because of what I was saying before with Riggs. Riggs actually felt like a character that developed, and yet he was still crazy enough to give you some of that Riggs, that Gibson love, Gibson's crazy love. But everybody seemed to. It felt like just a little bit of time had passed. They had gone through something together. They had established this relationship between them. He's a part of the family now. And it all moved on in a great end, but it wasn't like completely a different movie. It's a little less dark than the first. I think the first one was darker overall, but the second one still had some dark moments. Obviously, Rika getting killed, being really crazy at the end. But it still it made it a little bit funnier, a little more comedy, a little more action, a little more, I don't want to say typical action comedy in a way, amped up a little bit. But it made it for a better sequel, I think, than Die Hard 2 did. Because Die Hard 2 was more of a remake. This continued the story in a good, positive way. So I'm giving it to Lethal Weapon.
It's weird that you say that because I'll be honest, I can't I think the same amount of time has passed for me since I watched Lethal Weapon 1 when I watched Lethal Weapon 2. And I didn't watch Lethal Weapon 1 before, now that I watched 2. So when I watched Die Hard 2, I was like, okay, this feels exactly what I would want a Die Hard 2 to be. They're taking the premise, they're making it bigger, they're putting it in an airport where there's way more civilians, they can have bigger set pieces, he has more playground to play in. And I feel like everything was there, but the director is where I feel like it fell short. Like John McTiernan didn't return. It was, I think, Rennie Harlan. I looked through his filmography as well. There's nothing really that great there.
No, he made a career out of random he did a Nightmare on Elm Street 4. He made Cliffhanger.
Okay. Oh no, I think he produced that one.
Did he produce Cliffhanger? No, he directed Cliffhanger.
Okay. So he produced it as well. Because the first thing that came up for Cliffhanger was the producer credits.
Okay.
So when I watched Die Hard 2, it felt like, okay, this feels like a natural continuation of so they're even referring to the previous movie, like Al Powell shows up. So when I watched Lethal Weapon 2, like halfway through the movie, I felt like, okay, Lethal Weapon 2, a Lethal Weapon franchise is like an episode of the week kind of a thing. But the first movie is its own story. The second movie, I can totally watch this without knowing anything until they come up to the plot point of Riggs' girlfriend Vicky, because they actually, spoiler alert for Lethal Weapon 2, they correct me if I'm wrong, but the South Africans are responsible for his girlfriend's death, his wife's death.
Yes.
Right?
So that
is when it all I was like, okay, now they're connecting it, and they're connecting it in a perfect way because you had no idea that was coming.
Right.
And it didn't feel forced. It didn't we got to have this big,
it wasn't
reveal or something.
It wasn't the Spider-Man 3 when they made Sandman all of a sudden be the reason why Uncle Ben gets killed.
Yeah, perfect example. Perfect example. So I think for that reason, even though I as a sequel, when I'm taking out the directing part, I think Die Hard 2 has the winning formula. But Lethal Weapon 2, it's the emotional gravity that it has. It brings it all together, and that's why I'm giving it to it.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. All right.
I feel like we've been agreeing with each other way too much.
I agree. You gotta find
usually we're kind of more further apart.
I usually gotta go at each other. So we're like, what?
Right? Because Henry Cavill is way better than PSH, and was that our Miata moment?
It might have been. I think it might be. If you say that again, we can no longer be friends. If you say that again.
So okay, I won't.
Well, all right, folks, that is going to do it as far as that goes. We have signed it up, and we're about to find out our winner. Well, I'd say sometimes snap judgments, after all, are right. Winning 7-3 is Lethal Weapon 2.
The toilet. Boom, you're dead.
Boom, you're dead. That makes sense to me. It does make a lot of sense to me for a lot of those reasons. I do like Die Hard 2 quite a bit, but it does suffer. I think Die Hard with a Vengeance is probably a superior sequel.
It is
to Die Hard than Die Hard 2 is. I almost should consider doing that one instead, maybe, and maybe I will at some point. But
I think we could do Beverly Hills Cop 3 versus Lethal Weapon 3 versus Die Hard 3. we could totally do that because there's way more movies there.
We could do, absolutely.
And also the sequel, like thinking about the sequel category, got me thinking
real quickly interject. Yep. Then when Beverly Hills Cop 4 is coming out, they're actually making one.
Probably is.
I know they are. Eddie Murphy has said it.
No, I've heard about it, but I wasn't sure if during the COVID thing that they're actually shooting it.
They're going to shoot it. Like that's next on his list. I think it's one of those things that he's going to make it. They're going to wait till they can shoot it.
Okay.
When that comes out, we can do 4 versus 4 versus 4 at that point.
Okay.
Go. Sorry, go ahead.
I was talking about the sequels. That Die Hard always makes the scale grow. Like if you think about the first one is the hotel, second one is the airport, third one is the city, fourth one, it's still the city. The fifth one they take it global, but it's the worst. I'm sorry, I will never say a piece of S about a movie, but that movie is a piece
I will
of
say
S.
it. I will say it is a piece of shite. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. You have to go on too much. It is so bad. I really don't barely consider it a Die Hard movie. It's so awful.
No. Yeah.
But I will say, actually, another clip that's funny about putting Die Hard and Lethal Weapon against each other. I don't know if you knew this or not. Most people know, but Die Hard with a Vengeance was actually initially written as a Lethal Weapon movie.
I did not know that.
It was a Lethal Weapon. It was a pitch for a Lethal Weapon movie, and they took it. That's why Jesus and McClane were basically Riggs and Murtaugh together.
Yeah.
But they didn't use it for whatever reason, and so they took that script and made it into a Die Hard movie, just like change it around a little bit.
Wow, I had no idea.
So yeah, there you go. Die Hard is the movie.
But I'm glad it worked out this way now.
Oh, I am too. I think Die Hard is great for that reason. And they had Samuel L. Jackson made that role very well.
Jeremy Irons is the villain.
Still, Andrew, if you're watching, still not the better Gruber, though. I'm sorry. He's still not better than Hans Gruber. I don't care what you say.
Dude, why don't you got to go at him as well? Like for me saying like the Henry Cavill PSH stuff, why am I only getting the heat when he's saying he's a better Gruber?
I did give him the heat earlier on. He actually called me out in the chat for something. I forgot what it was he was watching. I said something again, and he was like, he trying to fire me, but didn't work out too well.
Oh, well, yeah, they would probably, that would be the worst idea ever.
Well, there you go. Is Lethal Weapon 2 beating Die Hard 2 this week? We'll have to see what Lethal Weapon 2 does against Beverly Hills Cop 2 next week, with the great Tony Scott directing. So it's actually great director, Richard Donner versus Tony Scott in a way. I'll have to see how that works for us. Maybe come up with some slightly different categories possibly. I'll have to see what that entails. But I guess until then, let's see what where can the folks find you there, Richard?
You turned into a radio host right now.
Did I?
You got really close to you. That's kind of cool to see. You can find me at Richard Eric with a K Jarvie on Facebook and Instagram, and of course weekly. And I promise I will be back next week, hopefully, for our next episode. So you can find me here on Class Action on Action Industries.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be back. Whether how we do it, we're going to do it. We do have our show next week, like we said. I think the week after that, I'll announce it since we're going to do it anyway. We're going to be doing Kong Skull Island versus Godzilla, the 2014 version, in preparation for the upcoming Godzilla movie, the Godzilla versus Kong movie that's coming out. It's actually fun for me because I have not seen any of these movies. Not Godzilla, not Kong Skull Island, or even the newest Godzilla movie. I haven't seen any of them. So I'm really excited to actually sit down and watch them.
I'm very interested in what you're going to think about them for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also we are in negotiations. I don't have a date yet. We have to talk about it. I'm in negotiations. We're going to have Andrew Guy come on and do another live episode, probably another live ranking. Should I say where we're going to rank or should I not? Or
why not? I think it's okay.
Okay. At least this could change. Obviously, everything could change. We could decide last minute to throw a curveball as we did today. But we're planning in negotiations. We're talking about doing the top 5 Christopher Nolan movies. Obviously, I haven't seen Tenet yet. They can. Drew and Jarvie can put it in there as in their top 5.
Has Drew seen it?
Drew has seen it. Drew and Ben have seen it. I have not yet. I still have any theaters open in my area, which is probably not a bad thing. But either way, I still want to see it really bad. I'm not gonna view it any other way except for on the big screen, obviously, because that's how I want to see this kind of movie. So I'm going to try not to spoil myself that way. But yeah, that's what it is. And for me, you find myself at Paul_Januzzi on Twitter. Find me every week here on Class Action. Find me with usually every weekend with Ben and Drew, produce their stuff. You can find me backstage. Sometimes I hop on screen for that, and also on Called Action, which is the movie trivia Schmodown podcast that I'm a part of. And I do have my own PLD Projects YouTube channel as well. That's a lot of stuff I have, and it is what it is. What can I say?
I feel very outgunned here. If there's any Estonian watchers, you can watch my show Film Guru.
There you go.
There's no Estonian watchers. No viewers.
Crickets. You gotta build up some. We gotta build up some Estonian cred. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that like. That subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know what you feel about our decisions here. Let us know if you want us to do anything. I know Ferris is still gunning for that Fast and the Furious episode, which we will do. I promise we will do one. I promise you that.
Feels like Jimmy Kimmel when he's always bringing on Matt Damon. Sorry, Ferris, couldn't have time for you today.
Sorry, Ferris, didn't have time to didn't get to watch Fast and Furious again. No, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7, or 8. But maybe someday, definitely. All right, guys. Well, we're going to do justice has been served, and court is adjourned.